A lot of Filipino dishes she cooks has the same sort of ingredients.
Hey, zesties! Welcome to another episode of the Gleeful Talkshow, where we share zesty stories to cultivate the happiness and hero within. In this episode, we are going to talk about dating culture in the Eastern and Western cultures, particularly in the Philippines and Australia. So, joining me today, I'd say, is Australia's next favorite couple, Jeddy and Jono. Hi, Hi Jeddy and Jono. Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
Glee.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I caught you off guard there.
Definitely.
All
That
right.
really-
So, yes, Jeddy was a guest on season 1. So, I'm very happy that she's back on this season to talk another bits and pieces about dating as well. And Jono is on, on board.
Dragged him to this.
Yeah. I'm very curious because, especially Philippines and Australia, we have different cultures or habits in terms of dating. So, for Jono, I guess, as in the Australian perspective, what things do you consider when you decide to date someone? You could say it about yourself or maybe people in general here in Australia.
I think that just like you get along with the person, you just want to be around them rather than not be around them. If you know what I mean? Like you just enjoy spending time together.
That's how you decide?
In the Philippines, though, Jeddy, it's like so many things we need to consider, right?
No, yes.
No,
And
yes.
I'm becoming Australian next. Sorry, no, yes. Yes, it's more complicated in the Philippines.
Mm.
Because in the Philippines, we have to wait for the man to make the move. The
Yeah.
man to ask for courtship, ask the parents, ask the friends, and then they can start the courtship and they can wait up to a year or 3 years before we say yes. And it all depends on us when the relationship starts.
Do you know about this culture kind of thing, Jono, or this is news to you?
I think I've heard a lot about it. Like I think most Asian cultures are pretty similar in that sort of sense. I don't know if it's like sexual activity as much as what Australians have or the Western culture where it's not frowned upon as much to be more active. And so I think you date a lot, but it's not considered dating. And so, yeah.
So dating here, is it like your boyfriend and girlfriend or just dating?
Like
is there a difference?
You can go on dates and not be dating as such.
And you can see other people as well.
Yeah, like not that you see lots of people, but I don't think you have like a lot of small relationships before you have, I don't know, yeah, like a serious relationship. So you see people for months or weeks at small times until you start seeing someone for a long time.
Because Jeddy, how about you in the Philippines? Like if you compartmentalize yourself during the Philippine days when you were there, I'm not sure about you, but when I was dating there, like dating there is dating one person, even though they are not boyfriend and girlfriend, but that's the courtship period.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes. Even in the Philippines, Glee, I really never believed in courtship. So my last 2 relationships in the Philippines never had that phase. So my first boyfriend, it was in college and we just talked. We liked each other and we started dating. And we lasted 5 years. And then with the second one, there was no courtship. So I never really believed in courtship. But growing up with my 4 other sisters, they believed in courtship. They believed in the traditional asking the parents, date them. I grew up with that and I found it not that important. Like I don't really,
not that effective, right?
Yes, exactly. Because I think it is what it is. If you like someone, you don't have to prolong that, and you don't need to eat the entire cake to tell that it's great or it tastes good. So that's my mentality, even in the Philippines.
Oh, that's good because I only realized that with my husband now. So it's
Yes.
like because we were conditioned to have the courtship mentality. And
Yes.
I felt that there was one time, like the courtship was like maybe like 3 months. And I felt bad that it was only 3 months because people say, oh, it should be like longer than three
Yes.
months courtship.
Mhm.
So is it common for Australian women, Jono, to make the first move? Like, I like you, or it's not common?
I wouldn't say it's more common than men, but I think it's not weird for a woman to make the first move. Like, especially with like dating apps and all this sort of stuff these days, it's become a norm that a woman can make the first move.
How about if it's not on a dating app? Like, for example, you have a friend or like there's a girl and then the girl will say, I like you. Is that like something frowned upon?
No, no, no. Like I
No?
don't think
Oh.
that's no. Like I think there's so many different ways to meet people these days, and I think women know if they don't make the move as well, they might lose the opportunity. So, and if the guy was to think, oh, this is weird for a woman to make the first move, I'm not going to date her. Like that's even weirder. Or, you know.
Yeah. What's your thoughts about this one, Jeddy, when you were in the Philippines? Like, if women make the first move.
I think liberally compared to other Filipinos, Glee, I don't proud it upon, and this is my joke. I always think Filipinos are shameless flirters. You get what I mean? Like when we used to work together and we had these expats at work, you could see these Filipinos just like throw themselves out to these expats. You've seen that. So I don't frown that kind of behavior and I support it. But then most of my friends, they don't frown it upon when they make the move. When they see a guy and they make a move, it's like, it's a normal for us. But of course, growing up with four siblings, four girls, they would always wait for the man to make the move. And they always
Mm.
think it's not a good sight for a woman to approach a guy. And that's how we grew up. And that's how our parents let us think that it's not good.
Is that like a more religious?
Oh, most of us grew up in the religious thinking.
Yeah, and it's really weird in the Philippines. Like, it's frowned upon when it's obvious, but
Yes.
like it's like a more cunning type of like not so obvious. I think if it's not that obvious, then it's okay for
It's
some
okay.
reason. And speaking of dating apps, I know in the Philippines it's not common, or it might be common, I just don't know, like meeting people in dating apps. But how about here in Australia, Jono?
Yeah, I think it's definitely become the norm, especially in the times with COVID and that sort of thing. When I was 18, we didn't have dating apps. It wasn't a thing. And then the first time I became single, probably in my mid-20s, it was sort of like becoming a thing, and it was sort of out of the norm to me. But these days, I think everyone uses it because it gives you a broader range to people, and you might not even date everyone. It's just you talk to people and you know, that sort of thing. From my age group and down, I definitely think it's a thing. I think people my age group over, probably it's not as common. But yeah, I think especially in the times we're in at the moment, I don't know how you would date without dating apps, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Is there a presumption here in Australia that dating apps are only for sexual
Oops.
activities or something like that?
yeah, like I think, but you could say the same thing. Like people that go out to clubs and meet people, is that the same? It's just easier on a dating app. And so if someone's going to have that interest, they just want to hook up. It doesn't matter where they meet you. They just want to hook up. So I think the dating apps just give you a broader range of people to do so. And so, you know, if only 10% of people in life are looking for relationships, only 10% of people on dating apps are going to be looking for relationships. So, you know, you just got to be better at filtering.
What about Jeddy for Philippines perspective, based on what you heard about people there?
I never used dating apps while in the Philippines, and I knew most of my friends have been on dating apps and they are with their partners and they met through dating apps.
In the
And
Philippines?
in the Philippines, yeah.
Family.
One of them, they're having a baby and next year. You know how Filipinos are very adaptive. When something's new, we use it and we take advantage of it. And I think dating app is no longer frowned upon in the Philippines.
Ah,
That's how I see it, because most of my friends, when they talk about it, they like, we make fun talking about it. And I think the good thing about dating apps, the intent is already there. Like, you would know what the guy or the girl wants, so you would know what to expect. So it's a lot better than meeting the person in an organic way, because in an organic way you have to guess what they want, how do they want to proceed, and stuff like that. Because on dating apps, it's just there. Oh, I'm looking for hookups, or looking for this and this. I'm not looking for a relationship,
But I think you can get to know someone quicker on a dating app than just by going on dates. Because, like, I don't know how people used to date 50 years ago. The only time you could talk to someone is by meeting them.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can talk to them for 20 hours a day and really get to know people through dating apps. Whereas if you only went on dates, you're only seeing that person for a short period of time and that sort of thing. So
yeah. In the olden days, like I feel so old, but without like dating apps or anything, like the traditional type of dating and courtship and whatnot, it's more of putting your best foot forward in a sense
Yes.
that so that the person will like you. It's ironic that it's face to face, but not much more open, I feel.
Mhm. Yes. But sometimes it makes a girl feel special. Like, courtship makes a girl feel
Ah,
special, because the amount a guy would put to get you is quite like, oh, it makes you feel confident.
I noticed that after the courtship
Yes.
period ends, it's like
They
the
stop.
normal fear, like, oh, where is that? Where is that special treatment?
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, a lot of times
A lot
it
of
happens
times.
like that with the courtship kind of thing. So that's why I wasn't a believer anymore
Of
in the
course.
courtship. Yeah.
Have you had your experience with that?
Yeah, it's really, I don't know now with younger people in the Philippines whether they still have courtship and whatnot. So is it also common to have your friends pimp your friends to other people? Like, if you have a single friend and you try to hook them up with your friends, because it's very common in the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
Yes.
Oh.
yeah, if anyone that's single, they've always got a friend that you try. I think everyone's that, but it's yeah, whether or not that friend's right for you or not.
Yes. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Right? I told you that I would never hook my friends up with my guy friends, because I know my guy friends are assholes. We've had this conversation. I would never hook my girlfriends to my guy friends, because I know what my guy friends are capable of. So I would never like, hey, you should date my friend. I would never do that.
Yeah, I always thought it from the point of view, like, if I went to date someone's friend, but I didn't like that friend, it's always then awkward after that, because it's like, no, I don't want to see that person anymore. Like,
yeah.
she wasn't for me, and it's always like, so I try to stay away from that as much as possible.
And also in the Philippines, Jeddy, I don't know if you noticed this, but even in the workplace, like people, like if there's somebody single in your team, they try to
Match.
match. Is it?
Yes.
How about here?
I didn't notice it at work. Are you noticing it at work?
Like, I think it depends what industry you work in. Like, I think majority of the industries I've worked in have been male dominated, so you don't get much of that. I think you'd have to be in a pretty co-ed sort of environment to get.
Yes, but I notice it here. Even have you noticed it at your offices as well? I don't notice it when someone's single and the other one's single. We don't match them up. Like, I don't notice it happening at work.
No, it's not common here, I noticed. So, but maybe it's an Asian thing. I don't know.
It is.
That's
I think
why.
Even if someone has already a boyfriend or a girlfriend and it's new, and then they still try to, like, it's very common in the Philippines with even if the girl is already in a relationship and that, like, she's new, and they'd be like, oh, that's fine. They're not married yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's so weird and funny, but yeah.
I think now that we're here, Glee, we are seeing it in a different perspective now, and it's just funny and it's different, and we realize it's actually weird to do that.
Yeah. You realize the things that you wouldn't realize if you were there, right?
Yes.
Like seeing the world in different eyes or perspectives.
Yes.
Yeah. And with the dating arena and everything, so is there a right time to meet the parents here in Australia, perhaps?
Like, I think every relationship's different. Like, I've had ones where you've met very early just because it was the situation. Like, maybe the parents didn't live in the area and they just happened to be there, or, you know, but I think it depends on the person. Like, I don't think it's awkward to meet the parents. I don't think it's, you know, if you've met the parents, I don't think that's like, oh, that's it, you're in a long-term relationship. I think it's just one of those things, you know. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, you don't have to meet someone until a certain time frame, or it is serious, you know. Yeah.
How about Jeddy? What was your perception back in the Philippines, or what you've noticed?
I think in the Philippines, meeting the parents was a big deal for us. When I had my previous relationships and I was to meet their parents, it was such a big deal. And I remember I had to prep things up just because we had a very conservative culture, and the Filipino parents are very conservative as well. They are very critical to whoever their son's dating, and you want to be that perfect Filipina girlfriend for their sons. So the ideation of perfection in the Philippines is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, we have to please the parents. And yeah, I think it was a big thing in the Philippines.
Yeah, because essentially if you're dating someone, it's like you're dating the whole family, right?
Yes.
So in the Philippines, I don't know about here.
No, it's definitely not like
yes. Like, it's definitely a different thing in the Philippines.
Yeah. I think some people here are very close to their parents, and maybe it's different, but I don't think we have the same, you know, like in Asian culture, families live together for such a long time. Whereas here it's like you turn 18, that's it, you're out on your own and that sort of thing. Only if your parents become like very old, they might move back in with you. Whereas Australian culture is, as soon as you're 18, that's it, you're on your own. You're from there.
With that, is it really like a rule within the parents, or it's like it's implicit that, oh, you're 18, you're out the door, or something like that? Is it like an implicit kind of thing, or how is it?
I don't think most parents just want to kick you out, but I think it's
is it more of the child wanting to go out rather than the parents? Or
like, I don't know if it's from an Asian point of view where it's financially, it's just so much easier for everyone to live in the one household. Whereas here in Australia, I think we're not probably the best financially. We just, you know, we just want to move out on our own and have our own place and this sort of thing. Maybe because it's easier here financially, which probably isn't the smartest option. But I think just because it is so easy, everyone does it. A lot of people who do like schooling for a long time might stay home a lot longer. But anyone that's out of school, I don't know anyone that's finished school and then stayed at home. It's just not a thing.
And in terms of the communication in between couples, do you think that there is a big difference in terms of communication styles?
Do we have different communication styles?
Yeah, like, I don't know if
you're pretty much straightforward.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the person a lot as well. Yeah, between Filipino and Australian, I think we're pretty similar.
Yes, we're pretty similar, but sometimes you get sometimes I call you like, sometimes you're a bit cold, because sometimes you're just like, when Jono always like puts everything on the table, like, this is what's going to happen. And you know, sometimes women can be very subjective, and it'll be like, you're so cold, because men can be like, Jono's very objective in some things, but we're always able to find common grounds on what's the best for us, because what we know for each other is that we always want the best for each other. So that's how we decide on things, and that's how we communicate.
I'm just wondering, like, not on your perspective, but Australian perspective. Like, if a girl maybe smokes or drinks a lot. I don't, because in the Philippines it's not like, oh, that girl smokes. Like the parents again, don't date that girl, something like that. So is that a common factor here?
I think it depends. I think smoking's just become in Australia, it's so expensive now to smoke. So I don't know many people that smoke a lot these days. Maybe when they go out, they do. And I think it depends. Like, I'm not a smoker. I've dated a smoker before, but I just think, like, from my point of view, like, why would someone smoke in this day and age? It's so expensive and that sort of thing. Drinking, I probably enjoy casual drinking like most Australians. I think we're very casual drinkers. It's not out of the norm to have a couple of drinks sort of every day. So I wouldn't think that was weird from a woman's point of view but yeah, like I think if it got out of hand where it was like that she was drinking too much every night or something, but it's not. Drinking in Australian culture is very common, where a lot of relationships I know, some people might drink every single day, so I don't think it's that weird. But if it was a girl going out and partying every night and the partner is staying home, I think that's two different personalities. You know, so
yeah, right. Jeddy, what else would you like to share, or perhaps tips for our zesties in terms of dating in general?
I think my always tip is just be yourself. Like there's nothing wrong about just being yourself with someone. If you are going to meet someone, it's okay to look good, but just be yourself. That's one thing that I like about Jono, and maybe that's also one thing that you like about me, because when we first met, I could feel that he was being genuine, and maybe he's the same. Yeah, I was genuine. Yeah. Yes.
Why was that laugh?
But yes, I think just be yourself. Just be genuine. And if it doesn't click, don't force it. If you could feel a little bit of you're forcing yourself for someone to like you, then it's not a good thing.
Not everyone is the one. So, you know, be out there as much as you can. Try to meet as many people as you can, but be realistic that not every person you meet is going to be the one.
Yes.
So
set your expectations.
Yeah. And enjoy it. You know, meeting people is fun. You know, dating's fun.
And then it brings you to really nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And on my end, I get free dinners or her lunches before. So just enjoy.
Yeah, great. Thanks for your advice. And before we wrap things up, I have a little bit of fun game for you guys. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
This is nothing,
Do you know what the game
nothing
is?
serious.
No.
So just a warm up. This is how well you know your partner. So what is Jeddy's favorite Filipino food?
Favorite Filipino food. I'm trying to think of the Filipino name. I know she loves fried fish and stuff, but I can't think of I'm trying to think of what the pork's called.
Adobo.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that right, Jeddy?
Yes, I cooked adobo a few times for him. And it just reminds me of when I was young, where like pork adobo just reminds me of home and spring rolls.
Spring roll. I think a lot of Filipino dishes she cooks has the same sort of ingredients. A lot of garlic, a lot of chili, onion. I think that's like the staple. It's just change the meat.
And the soy sauce as well, right?
Yeah, soy sauce, yeah.
So who drinks more? Just point to your partner or yourself if who drinks more. Okay, ding. Right answer, you know. So you know.
You're so cute.
But I think that's like, is Filipino culture to drink?
No, women, actually, it's not common really for women to drink, right? In the Philippines,
yes, I think it's to some provinces it's frowned upon, but in the city it's pretty much common. It depends where you are. It depends where you are. Most men don't like women who drink in the Philippines.
So point to yourself or your partner. Who eats more chips? It's you, Jono, who eats more chips.
Yeah. Well, I'm twice as big as Jeddy, so probably more.
But for us, like, I think I eat more. Yeah. So last question for both of you. What's your favorite part of each other's faces? So Jono, for Jeddy.
her cheeks. I don't think she likes that answer, but
How about you, Jeddy?
I love his eyes.
Ah.
Yes. I always love your eyes. He loves my cheeks because they're big. No, they're big.
Ah.
well, when she smiles, they puff up.
Yeah.
So,
I actually I can relate to something like that. Like for us girls, like we don't like this particular part of our face,
Feature.
but the partner likes it because like they think it's cute, which is weird for us. Like it's not cute, but you know.
I think that he just knows that it annoys me and he
Ah.
loves to steer me up. So he would choose the least nice on my face.
Oh.
Just
is
to
that
annoy
true,
me.
Jono?
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Ah. All right. So I think that wraps up our comparison with the dating cultures. And is there anything else you would like to share to our zesties? Thank you so much, Jeddy and Jono, for your time and sharing your opinions with our zesties.
Thank you
It's
for
okay.
having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
you.
having us.